Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that we have another Doom post that has hit the Wuthering Waves building. We've got Mr. Gacha Smack with this video, the current state of Wuthering Waves, and what appears to be Chu Yan dehydrating in the middle of a desert. And I'm just going to be entirely honest with you. I feel like on the onset of this vid, I'm already going to agree with a lot that's in it. And when I mentioned Doom posting at the start, I wasn't actually serious, because if you're commenting on the lack of content to actually do in Wuthering Waves, you're not Doom posting. You're an actual player of the game that's expressing how you feel about what's actually going on. That's not Doom posting. But of course, that's the joke that a lot of people are going to make. And so I think one thing that's clear is that Smack has not been uploading any woo-wah content like at all over the past couple of weeks. Some could say, oh, is he quitting the game? Well, let's go ahead and find out why that's been the case. Did this video start 5 or 6 seconds too early? 10 seconds too early?
Come to learn over my tenure of covering these games that, as always, there's highs and there's lows. Doubly so in the gacha space. But when a patch comes along that genuinely commands your attention, you'll come back and play it. At least a lot of us will. Most of us have a hard time accepting that these games were never meant to be played full time. I don't know why, but a lot of people think it's a good thing to main a gacha game.
So I think one part of the argument that Smack is clearly leaning in towards over here, right, is that small subsect of players that are trying to play the game like a full-time job, that are trying to play the game for 10 plus hours a day, doing all of that, right? When it comes to Wuthering Waves specifically, there was a huge push, right, by certain content creators, by certain, you know, ignorant individuals living in the comment section of, oh my god, Echo Experience and Tuner should be farmable infinitely in the overworld. And yes, those are the individuals that were pushing for essentially turning Woo-Wah into one of those games that you could play as a job. And, well, that's the thing, right? That sort of playstyle, that sort of commitment, we've already seen it with the release of Duet Night Abyss. It's not all like the suns and roses and like peaches and acorns that people like to refer to it as. And yeah, the way that a gacha is meant to be played is that you log in, you have a set amount of content that you do within a extended period of time, and then you enjoy what you can get out of that limited amount of content. But the real matter when it comes to Woo-Wah 2.7 is, well, is that limited content too limited? At least that's my take.
A gacha game. It's never a good thing to do this. It just, their entire structure and dynamic is meant to be played in moderation.
Yep, that's why it's very good in these types of games for you to be able to go in, spend all your stamina, spend all your weight plates, spend all your whatever, and then get out within 5 minutes. But do you want to be doing only that for 21 days in a row? And that's where the conversation gets a little bit twisted.
And I would argue that moderation plays its role in all elements of life. But let's face it, guys. Every good resource was poured into the finale. And every future good resource is being poured into 3.0. Now, as things stand right now, the second half of 2.7 and probably 2.8, I don't even think it's probably. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you 2.8 is probably. I'm so safe, I like saying probably. It is definitely going to be a continued drought.
Well, that's not going to be good because the game is currently in the worst. It's currently in the worst drought it's ever been. I'm praying that there's at least a couple of reruns of some very popular, very well-received long events. Think things like Virtual Crisis. Think things like the co-op holograms. They have a bunch of new bosses. They've got a bunch of new different modifiers. They got a bunch of new different things in different kits. You could have the trial run of Chisa. You could have the trial character for Chisa show up in either of the game modes. There's a lot of possibilities over here.
2.7 second half going into 2.8 is drier than an Azir mid lane, a Sands of Time Echo skin, Scorpion King, and Prince of Persia combined, bro.
Why did bro just bring in like everything in the Middle East, but just not say the Middle East?
It is rough out here in these.
Just say it's drier than the Sahara, bro.
Woo-wash streets. The waves have dried up. My God, there's no waves. They are not wuthering. And you know what? It's okay. It's fine.
I want to wait and hear this. I want to wait and hear the entire reasoning, because it feels like I can tell by his facial expression right now. It feels like there's a part 2 to that statement. I can already tell by the look on his face. There's a part 2 to that statement.
In my opinion. Now I get it. There's this like duality right now of gaming where people that touch grass, that don't have all day to play games, are clashing with the unemployed or people who just don't have anything else going on in their life except free time to play games. And it's an interesting thing to always look at, because of course, one side's going to see it as, it's fine, I can just go play something else. It's not a big deal. In fact, this works out perfectly for me because I got so many other things to do with my time. And then the other side is going, well, I want to play this game more. I don't do this whole, I want to play multiple games things. I want one game to main and that's it.
I think that there's a difference, right? Between previous patches. I'll just take version 2.4 as an example, right? We all know how amazing Wuthering Waves 2.4 was. These were all of the events that we had in 2.4. You had a bunch of login events. You had the card minigame, which was great for individuals that wanted a kind of like goofy minigame to play on the side, right? You had like the animations, all of that. You would like throw cards, do all of that. It was actually a fun game mode. Balanced, cool, all of that. Then you had Banners Never Fall, a combat event where you explored Septimont. Login event. Then you had the exploration event, another exploration event, actually a third exploration event, and then Virtual Crisis. This was one of those updates where you didn't play the game for 10 hours a day, right? You didn't. That you weren't able to. There wasn't enough content for you to play the game for 10 hours a day, right? So I don't really jive with this whole sort of like delineation that's very binary, where it's either, okay, I have a very limited amount of time to play, and so the lack of events and the lack of content is great for me because I can go do other stuff, like go take care of my 17 children and work my 3 jobs. Versus, oh, I'm unemployed, I'm jobless, all I have is time to play games, I want to play Woo-Wah for 10 hours a day. There's a healthy middle ground in between the two that version 2.4 greatly exemplifies, right? Where somebody might decide, okay, on 5 out of 7 days of the week, I'm logging in for 5 minutes to do my dailies. Then when I log on during the weekend or my free day, then I'm playing for like 5 or 6 hours. And I want to have 3 of those weekends a patch, 2 of those weekends a patch where I played it for 5 to 7 hours. And so my total playtime, right, is like 20 to 30 hours over the course of the update, but it's split across in this way, and having a lot of content to do allows that to happen. Right now in version 2.7, and frankly in version 2.6 and in version 2.5, the gameplay loop has been play the story, do a little bit of exploration, and then log in for 5 minutes for the rest of the 40-day patch. There has been really no opportunities for that extended playtime in short bursts, because in this update in particular, there was one burst for the story. That was 7 hours, and then it's been 5 minutes of login for the rest of the 40-day patch. And I feel like that's where, to kind of just binarily split it up into, you're either, you're like jobless with too much free time, or you don't have any time at all, so the lack of updates is good. I feel like having a split like that feels that binary, I don't think we're doing like full justice to the types of players that are complaining, at least in the present. So that's just like my take on that.
And I don't think either side is wrong here, which means...
So I think by Smack saying that either side isn't necessarily wrong, I think that he's basically acknowledging the existence of that middle ground that I'm talking about. So yeah, let's just hear more.
The developer is the one you got to point the finger at, right? Because if the developer isn't appeasing both sides with the...
They're appeasing... this is kind of like the sad reality of the situation. The developers have been appeasing the side of the game that doesn't want to play it. That's what it feels like. The developers have been appeasing the part of the player base that doesn't want to play the game. That just wants to log on, collect resources, hit a login event, and then pull on the gacha. The most Giga casuals of Giga casuals ever. Honestly, they should just have a quiz in front of the feedback survey that, like, tests if they know the basic combat mechanics of the game. Like, the question is, how do you activate an intro skill? And then if you get the question wrong, you get kicked out of the survey. I think that would actually dramatically improve the overall quality of the feedback that they get. Because I do think a significant number of individuals will get kicked out on the first question.
With a formula that kind of appeases both, then it's a kind of a developer flaw. However, to play devil's advocate, an identity is an identity. You can't please everyone.
True. And they've pleased the developers, without a doubt. Like I said before, they are pleasing one side of the equation. The side of the player base that has 3 jobs, 17 children, and has no time at all to play the game outside of 2 minutes a day. It's just been that for 3 patches.
Know this, right? If that were the case, well, people wouldn't be fighting over politics in real fucking life. There's always going to be a straight shot that needs to be fired, and for some people, it's going to be fired perfect, and for others, it's going to be a shit fire. Mm-hmm. And so you have to ask yourself, what am I playing Wuthering Waves for? If I'm playing it for replay value, I'm cooked.
Yeah, the only replay value that you currently have right now is new TOA resets and new WeWa resets. And boy, oh boy, is this TOA reset kind of some trash.
That's clearly not where they're going. It's just not, right? But if I'm playing it for story and exploration, although I gripe on exploration, it's actually almost perfect exploration when you're playing it as you're playing through the story. If you're playing it for this, then you know precisely how long you're going to play this game for and when it's time to go.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. The game has been a story game, without a doubt. With an endgame update every 12 weeks, it's been a story game with an endgame update every 4 weeks. It's been a story game with little sprinkles of endgame for the past 120, 130, 140 days.
And put your attention and focus elsewhere. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm at. I gave up on the game's combat quite a long time ago. Now every now and then they cook a character so fucking thoroughly that it reignites a bit of a flame and passion in my soul, and I come back to the game and I say, oh, I gotta play Augusta. I gotta see this shit, bro. She slaps. And then I have my fun with her. And then I go down that rabbit hole of, okay, what else can I do with her? And then I'm easily and quickly met with that linear box, that linear predetermined way to play the character that both Wuwa and Genshin are known for doing, even HSR. And I'm like, oh.
Okay, I think Smack is talking about the lack of flexibility. The lack of flexibility that you have in running certain characters in certain team comps. I think that's a fair take to make, right? Especially when there are currently releases like Chu Yan, where they filled in a gap that had no 4-star alternative, right? You look at Chu Yan with his 50% echo skill damage amplification, and you're like, okay, there's no character with any echo skill damage amplification in the fucking game. And so it's just like these highly tailored like character releases coming out one after another, with Galbrena and Chu Yan requiring some of the most tailored teams in the game to get, the performance that you're expecting out of a limited character. Yeah, I'm just going to be honest. It's a little bit, I'm not been too satisfied with 2.7's units. On the other hand, a Yuno, for example, I feel like she's actually a character that would have been up Smack's alley, but he just didn't like her story. So I guess he never really gave her character a spin. Yeah, Yuno actually seems like a character that would have been up his alley simply due to the fact that, well, she's usable in so many different teams and in so many different ways.
Okay, there's only one way to play the character.
Well, like I said, Yuno is somebody that would have been up his alley because there's multiple ways that you play that character.
There's no build depth. All right, I can't play this character several ways. It's
Well, you can play Chuyan as a main DPS if you really put in some work. You got to do like some cursed 6 heavy attack combo. I saw somebody do it. I tried it out myself and I was like, this is going to give me arthritis. But yeah, there's like Chuyan's like S0 DPS rotation is like interesting looking, but it's also like so inaccessible. I was just like, they should have just gone all the way. They should have just made him more like Camellia. They should have just put his S3 into his baseline kit, and this would have been one of the coolest character releases in the history of the game.
play him with this character, that's it. Put this build on them, that's it. I don't have that second element of gameplay that's enjoyable for me, which is a build diversity, variety, and in multiple ways to optimize the character, right?
And this is the thing that I'll talk about over here. Chuyan, for example, if he had his S3 at S0, would have been one of the most multi-rolled and also one of the most multi-build characters in the game, right? You would have had the ability, right? Oh, of course, right? You can play him as like his overall support build, right? Where you go ahead and you run Law of Harmony. But then you look at how Law of Harmony works and you're like, wait, this thing only gives 30% heavy attack damage and only 16% echo skill damage? Wait. That's not as good. That is arguably worse than just running Sierra Gale. Because Sierra Gale just gives me 40% arrow damage bonus, right? And so I get 40% heavy and 40% echo skill. That's kind of like the thing, is that if he was a more viable main DPS at S0, this would become like an actual optimization question depending on what type of role you want him to play in game. Much like how Brant has like a Molten Rift build you can use with the Inferno Rider, with the Inferno Rider Echo and stuff like that. And I feel like one thing that Kuro really missed out on was having one of those characters that really felt like they could actually use different Sonata sets. Because guess what, guys? This has been one of the most useful and also useless features I've ever seen. I actually have so many builds in here that I should just remove because it's not like the character's ever going to equip anything else. Because there's, again, a lack of build variety simply due to the fact that we have no fucking Sonata sets. And I have been begging for new 1.x Sonata sets to be introduced since like version 2.4. I've been asking for like new versions of Sierra Gale, new versions of all this shit, blah, 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 just stuff that we could like play around with, experiment with. You're already introducing new 3-piece sets. Can we get 3-piece sets for all the older units? Stuff like that. And it's kind of like you saw one foot going in a interesting direction with Chuyan's kit and how Law of Harmony is weaker than Sierra Gale for a DPS. But then they make his DPS completely unplayable unless you're S3 because that's where all of the fucking... That's where everything is. Yeah, this is one of the longest S3s in the fucking game. I'm just like, why did you just put this in his baseline kit? Straw, Cape, and Drizzly Rain. It's like a Camellia mechanic where he consumes a Concerto to extend his rotation. Why did you just put that in his baseline kit and just make it stronger here? And then now you have a character, one of the coolest designs in the game, and he can now be played in multiple roles, and now he has multiple builds depending on the role that he's supposed to play. Would have been super neat, would have made opportunities for so much content, would have shown you, oh, okay, this game really has like a very, very dynamic character building situation, but instead they just paywalled it. Which sucks. That's one of the other reasons why I'm just miffed about this version, is because there's so much cool potential with that character and it's paywalled.
It would be cool if I could go into Wuthering Waves and play Chuyan, not just with Galbrina for TOA or for Lova in Whimpering Waves.
Not pre-watch, by the way. It's just, this character is so disappointing because you pull them and you can only play them in 2 teams. You can only play Chuyan in 2 teams, and the 2 teams you can play him with include Galbrina and fucking Frolova.
But I could put several different sets on him to make him a main DPS that performs just as well. Or I can put a set on him that makes me only use the skill because the skill gets some ridiculous amplification from playing that particular set. Or I put this other set on him and it amplifies his fucking Q.
And again, this all would have been possible if his S3 was just built into his baseline kit, it was weaker, right? But then it gets just buffed heavily as the sequence nodes go on. You would have you've been able to do every single thing that Smack is saying over here.
Where his Q does a ridiculous amount of burst damage, and now you can go that. There's no nuance. There isn't. And so when you get on the game to play, you know, these characters that they're dropping out, not only is there no build depth and no build variety, there's also very little gameplay content to really sink your teeth into that motivates you to want to really play these characters out when the patches are dead, you know?
You have a one-track way of building the unit. You've got no build variety. And then you have no motivation to continue building them. Because guess what, guys? If you're at the point where all you have to do in the updates are TOA and WeWa resets, and you're at the point where you've consecutively cleared TOA and WeWa for months on end, and there's nothing else to do other than TOA or WeWa resets, that's a little fucking rough. That's where those suggestions come from for co-op holograms. That's where those suggestions come from so many different other game modes like Virtual Crisis. And the thing is, not having anything along those lines when we literally have, and you can look in the menu, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new holograms since we had the last co-op event. The last co-op event we had was for the fucking Hecate hologram. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them released since then. Are we being so real right now? There's so many more bosses. They've even got the False Sovereign 2 that they can debut in that game mode. It's sort of just like, again, why is none of this shit being added in? As an addendum, right, to how you can be using your units, stuff like that. Why is all this shit just not getting added into the game? And again, in one of the biggest droughts we've ever had.
There's the TOA, there's the Wuthering Waves. It's been the same since fucking day one. The bones have been laid, but nothing has been laid. No foundation. I'm sorry. There's foundation, but there's been nothing laid on top of the foundation.
I think floors 3 and 4 conceptually aren't bad. The last reset that we had with floors 3 and 4 actually felt very good, but they've definitely taken a step back with this most recent Tower of Adversity reset. I don't think that floors 3 and 4 as a concept, though, are bad. I actually think it's good.
Just the same. It's the same shit. All right. It's like building a home, laid the foundation, but you never actually built the home. It's like, okay, well, there's no real motive there. You see what I'm saying? And I'm somebody who really wanted Shu Yin, but then I realized that if I pull on him, the fuck am I gonna do with him?
That's a fact. If you're not playing this character in a Ferlova team or a Galbreda team, he is dog shit. He's like tier 0. Omega Dragon with those 2 units, and if you don't use him with those 2 units, he's like literally tier 5. Like possibly the worst unit you could have on your team.
Nothing, really. I skipped Galbrina. Didn't pull on her because
she looks like a penis and she's boring as shit. And this is the crazy fucking thing. This dude skipped Galbrina. Let me show y'all the videos he was making about her. Let me show you the Glaze Smack videos bro was making about her. He was excited, man. He was excited. He made like 3 videos about like her kit. Galbrina literally has unlimited power. Galbrina is not what I expected. Galbrina may cry. And then, he's just like, he saw the gameplay in game and he was like, yeah, fuck that shit. Hey, I respect it, man. Hey, not a lot of people pulled Galbrina or Chuyan either. It is what it is.
I'm not giving this game $200 to do fuck all for the gameplay. This may sound like I'm going in on the game, but I'm actually just being very honest and just trying to explain to people the reality of Wuthering Waves is not to play it for combat. It's to play it for the story. And to be honest, it's to play it the same way you play Genshin.
And that's why we're saying we don't want that shit. And that's why so much of the community is making such a big ruckus as much as possible. Because currently, literally, yes, the game has kind of devolved into Genshin 2.0 from that perspective. It kind of really has. And when the only thing that you can look forward to is the occasional endgame reset, and then we literally see the endgame with the most shilling. Let me just show you what this endgame looks like right now, so I can, like, actually speak into existence just how nonsensical it is. The new TOA reset literally has a specialized debuff where all the damage you would do is reduced by 10%, and this effect is inactive on enemies with negative statuses. That's Arrow Erosion, that's Spectro Frazzle, that's Havoc Bane. By the way, they have a special line for Havoc Bane when it doesn't even get released for like 2 fucking weeks. It's like shit like this. It really... I don't understand what the point of this, what the point of even buffs or design like this is, other than make the game feel even more shilly than before. And makes it feel more shilly and more like Genshin Impact. That's combined with the fact that there's been nothing to do in the game for 40 days at this point. This is the TOA reset that we get after there being nothing to do in the fucking game. What? What is this design? Following a drought, what is this design?
People look forward to the next Genshin patch, not for combat. That's just content creators constantly making guides for new players and people who actually think that shit is still worth watching. With all due respect, bro, put the blue set on the blue character, crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, or damage bonus, call it a fucking day, bro. It can't be that deep at 5 years later. There's no way. I don't mean to be a dick, but it's just kind of the truth. There's no reason to...
At least in Wuwa, you have, like, rotations. At least in Wuwa, you have, like, rotational parts of guides. Yeah, you don't really have those in Genshin because each character literally only has 2 inputs.
To play Wuthering Waves or Genshin, other than the new story is updating, and with that story, we get to see this cinema experience of exploration and progressing world building, as well as plot twists here and there. And once that's all done, you have a day to 2 to 3 to play this character that just came out. Half of the excitement is purely due to you just wanting to secure the character and FOMO. And then the other half of the excitement is it actually does, very similar to League of Legends, feel like you're playing the game for the first time for a matter of 24 hours, and then it just fades. Then it just fades off into the dust. This is the nature of gacha gaming. You know what I mean? This is. And I feel like the more people deny that nature...
I think one thing that we need to talk about is that there are going to be some character releases that, like, change everything for your account. For example, the second that I unlocked the full mono fusion team, basically I pulled Lupa back in version 2.4, I felt like, at least with these 3 units, I was playing a completely different game with them, right? And I think that that's the case for a lot of, like, similar teams with, like, similar sort of dynamics. I know, like, the Furlova team, for example, is one that, like, people just love spamming until, like, the end of time because they just love how, you know, the damage ramps up and, like, nukes and that sort of thing. There are just simply elements of, like, the gameplay. Like, there are even, like, fans of Zoni, right? That just swear by the fact that they're pressing 300 buttons a second, and that makes them better than everybody else. And, like, this comp allows them to have, like, you know, and, like, this comp allows them to have, like, that sense of superiority as they're talking in Discord channels about the meta of the game, right? It's stuff like that that is one of the cornerstones of enjoying this game. And when you think about all of the veteran players that have basically stuck with Wuwa because of the combat, because of the gameplay, because of those components, and to see the drought that those veterans are going through right now, it literally does almost feel like a lot of these older players are just getting slapped in the face by these developers. And it's just like all of the stuff that people stayed for, it's not being prioritized at all.
But continue to play the game, the more you're going to be let down, the more you're going to get angry, and the more you're going to start to resent that very game.
And that's the thing. We're kicking it into overdrive right now to hopefully see some sort of response in the other direction. Because, once again, the only reason why I've been making such a ruckus The only reason why I've spammed about 4 to 5 videos about 2.7's lack of content and the absurd drought we're going through is because 2.7's not the first patch that this has happened. It started in version 2.5, so it's been 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7. And I always hammer on the fact it's not just 2.7. It's not just this 42-day span of time where there's been no content. It's been over 120 days of having no content. And that's why there's so many videos being made, because this is not something that's just like popped up out of nowhere and it's just a blip, right? This ain't no outlier. This is something that's been consistently happening. It's been engineered, and it just makes you wonder, why the fuck is this even going on when there's literally no reason at all for this to be happening?
You can't turn a pig into an elephant, right?
And this is where I feel like Smack is being a little bit... I feel like he's not giving the game as much hope as he probably could. He is being a little bit more pessimistic, because in the same vein of how I've talked about, right? In the same vein of how I've talked about how the devs have been phoning it in when it comes to these events and when it comes to this content, they also had 2.4 this year. And this was, in my honest opinion, the best patch the game has ever had. And the thing is, it's feature rich, sure, but it's not like it was the most incredibly, absurdly feature-dense patch ever. It just only had 2 combat events that were really good. And so, to kind of like... This was an amazing patch in the game. 2.0 was also good. 2.1, in terms of filler content, was also amazing as well. And it's sort of like this take or this idea that, like, oh, the game is only going to get worse, or the game is, or you know, Kuro's only going to further rotate into this. I still have hope. And the reason for that is 2.4 was an elevation from 2.0. You look at 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2, obviously people are a little bit disappointed in 2.3. I still think it was a great patch. And then 2.4 was another rise up. It was on the up and up. And apparently what's happened from now is that everything's been on the up and up. Then you have 2.4, and then only the story keeps going up, and then everything else with the game went down. Story went up, and then everything else went down. And it's sort of just like, what has happened to cause that? People looked at the first half of this year, saw the steady progression of the game, and then everyone's just wondering, why is there a complete halt? And why has it been going on for this long, and why is nothing happening?
Unless you're living in world building of Harry Potter or something, then maybe you could do that. But you can't. It is what it is. This is the best time to say that phrase. It is what it is. I personally am looking forward to 3.0. I think 2.8 is going to be a severe skip, but I'm still going to play through the story. That way, when 3.0 drops, I can go straight into 3.0.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Bro sounds like he's quiet quitting the game. Maybe that'll be the clickbait. He kind of sounds like he's quiet quitting the game.
But what I am not going to do is play these patches past the story.
Okay, yeah, that base... Okay, I was just right. Hey, maybe it's not that much clickbait for me to say that he's quitting Wuwa. Because it kind of sounds like he just said he's quitting everything that's not the combat. I don't even consider that clickbait at this point. Yeah, we're good on that.
Until Wuthering Waves shows me, which I don't think they ever will. I think
he didn't play Chuyan's story. Nobody did. Nobody fucking cares about it. Because once again, asking somebody to focus up and buckle in for 1 hour after you've had them do nothing for 20 days is an insane ask. Do you want to know when everybody's going to be playing the Chuyan story? They're going to be playing it 1 or 2 days before 2.8 drops.
They're very similar to Genshin.
Or really, they're going to be playing it when 2.8 drops because they forgot it was necessary to play the 2.8 story.
Until it shows me that the gameplay is worth investing time in, I don't think there's any reason to pull on characters anymore either.
Okay, bro is legitimately actually... Okay, no, this is more than quiet quitting. Bro just said he's not like pulling on units either. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's going to be the title now.
Past. I love the character. Oh, I like their playstyle. Like, cool, you like their play style, but you're going to put that character away after 2 days. Because there ain't shit else to do with the game, you know? This was a conversation I wanted to kind of like update you guys on, because I've been getting people in my streams
asking, where's the woo-wah content?
Smack, are you going to do the Chuyin story? Are you going to pull on Chuyin? When are you coming back to Wuthering Waves? There's not a reason to come back to Wuthering Waves right now, guys. Outside of doing the Chuyin story, which I'm sure I would enjoy, right? But there's just...
Why is it that no one's ever able to play the Maybe I'm just right about my take. That, yeah, after a 20-day drought, you kind of are less willing to commit time to the game. In a similar way, I wouldn't be surprised at all if 2.8's engagement is also kind of low. Because guess what? Everyone's been demotivated from even logging into this title. Everyone's been thinking that Woo-Wah's on the back burner. And so maybe 2.8, Chisa, the schoolgirl, all of that's going to be enough. I don't know, guys. And that's the impact of a really, really fucking bad patch. We're going to see the ripple effects from this for months.
Ways to spend my time as a gamer right now. Right now, fucking A, bro. I'm going to be honest, I'm so overwhelmed in a good way with playing video games. I think that for the first time in my channel's like history, I played 4 different games in 1 month and covered 4 different games in 1 month. That is insane. That just goes to show you they're just dropping these fucking games like panties at a Chris Brown concert, man. You know, it's going crazy out here.
I thought we were gonna use domestic abuse charges if we were gonna be talking about Chris Brown, but go off, King.
I'm playing Duet Night Abyss. I'm playing Chaos Zero Nightmare. I'm playing Where the Winds Meet on the 14th. I played Blue Protocol and had to drop it because I was like, there's no fucking way I can play this MMO on top of Chaos Zero Nightmare and Duet Night Abyss. There's no way.
That analogy is too racial for me to understand. No, it ain't, right? It's because Chris Brown beat up Rihanna. Wait, did y'all forget that happened? No, it's because Chris Brown beat up Rihanna like real bad back in the day. Wait, is that no longer common knowledge? Oh shit, we are cooked. Oh shit, that's not common knowledge anymore. Oh, come on, guys. Oh, chat's too young for that one. I would tell you to look it up, but it's like bad. You probably shouldn't look it up. It's kind of bad.
And that's the game I'm least enjoying out of the 3. But don't get me wrong, I actually was enjoying Blue Protocol. I actually really was. I didn't drop it because it sucked.
This is me with Chaos Zero Nightmare. I would love to have covered that game, but as you're all beginning to probably notice right now, it seems a little bit hard to make content in that game that isn't just like playthroughs of runs. When every single bit of progression related to your character or significant parts of your progression are related to RNG, it's more of a game that you play versus a game that you like make content on. That's my take. It feels exceptionally hard to make content in that game, and I very rarely see videos other than just like people's playthroughs.
I had to drop it because I'm an unk. I ain't got that kind of time. And so with Where the Winds Meet,
and so that's why I actually dropped it early. Because I was just like, I see the vision for this. I just don't even see how I could do anything except just like stream the game and then upload, this is my Chaos 70 run. Amazing RNG. Better as a stream game than a video content. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So it's just like, I kind of saw the vision for it early on, and if there wasn't going to be a way to, like, guarantee more of the progression and, like, guarantee more of, like, the stuff, yeah. It feels like one of those games where you could potentially burn out of it really fast as well when you don't get what you need. Imagine if your echoes weren't from, like, tuners or tubes and you weren't able to save up resources, and the only way that you could get a plus 25 echo in Woo-Wah was to do like a 30-minute to 1 hour RNG run. And then you do that, and then you don't get the piece that you want, and then you just keep going over and over again and try to like gear up all your characters and then do that. And then you like still don't get it. Oh man, yeah, that'd be a little bit rough.
I might have to drop another game. To be honest, I don't want to drop Duet Night Abyss. I'm genuinely enjoying it. It's giving me back that nostalgic feel of what it used to be like being a...
But I don't think If you're trying to play CZN and Duet Night Abyss at the same time, you're gonna have to pick. You're gonna have to pick one. I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to be able to play Duet Night Abyss and CZN at the same time. You cannot. You gotta drop one of those two. That has to be the case. And one of those games is a lot easier to make content on than the other.
You gotta grind for everything. You want something, play the fucking game, grind it, and you'll get it. There's no timer on it. You can grind it to your heart's content whenever you want to.
And this is also the other thing that I've been enjoying a lot about Duet Night Abyss. You can take a break from DNA, and it doesn't even feel bad. That's another thing that people should recognize. You can take a break, just collect your daily shit in DNA, and then just, like, move on. Right? And then go buckle down for 10 hours on the weekend, and then make up for lost time very easily. Because your dailies, you do one covert commission. Takes like 2 minutes, you're done. You're done with your dailies.
There's a number of build varieties to play different characters and weapons and stuff.
There's not really that much build variety in DNA. It's just early on in the game, so you think you do have build variety, but there's not as much as we thought, because weapons are fucking useless.
Well, weapons, melee weapons is a different story, but
Pre-watched.
You know, I'm enjoying that game. And Where the Winds Meet looks like one of the craziest fucking cooks I've ever seen in my life. That's a whole different ball game. And then at the end of the month, there's Arknight's Infield. There's so many avenues right now to play. And these games have content to play, right? Because they're fresh. They're out. They're fresh. And so it's like, play those games or play fucking dry ass Azir mid lane. I just watched League of World Finals yesterday. So
yeah, we can tell, you fucking nerd.
Excuse the League of Legends brain rot references and analogies. You play Azir mid lane ass Sands of Time Echo skin Wuthering Waves, you know? Oh, it's pretty simple there. Yeah. This was a raw video. I intentionally told myself before I hit record I wasn't going to edit shit out. Even if I have my perfectionist syndrome, I fucking hate when I have to stumble over my words or I like stutter or something. I'm actually very good at just going on tangents, as you could see. Probably got off track at least several times
I thought the video was done
in this video, but I wanted you guys to understand, like, just from a place of genuine honesty. I'm okay with Wuthering Waves being dry because there's so many other things to do with my time. I think
that's a fair take as well. Wuthering Waves having a lot of content right now could potentially actually be frustrating to those individuals that wanted time, right? Or wanted to really sink their teeth into other games. And the dynamic that's happening right now in WoWA 2.7 is that when you play the game and you log in and you play the game for 2 minutes a day, you are essentially keeping up with all the content that there is to do. Playing the game for 2 minutes a day. And the reality of that is that when you have other stuff you want to do, other stuff that you can spend time on, that's great, that's wonderful, who really cares? But if you're somebody that maybe doesn't like Chaos Hero Nightmare, you don't like Where Winds Meet, it looks too wuxia for you, or you don't like Duet Night Abyss because the grind is just something that you're not really into, then, well, you still like Wuthering Waves, but there aren't other things to play. And I think that encompasses a large amount of players, and that's actually why it feels like WoWA in general is just completely fucking cooked. Because there's going to be those players out there that kind of want to play mainly this game. And you also have to think about those individuals where maybe all they have every single day, right? Within a week, they only have 10 hours of free time. And WoWA used to be that game where it would take up all 10 hours of that free time and feel wonderful across the past couple of updates. And now this game is taking up 10 minutes of your time every week. And now you have all this empty time, and you're just wondering, like, oh man, this used to be like the thing for me. This used to be like the way that I was doing things, and now I don't have any of that anymore.
Knowledge that the hardcore players aren't content with the game, and I think it's valid too. But you know, it's one of those, once again, it's one of those situations where you have to be honest with yourself and know that if, as a year and some changes pass by, if they haven't done what you wanted them to do, probably is never going to happen. And when it does happen, You will have been starved of the shit you wanted for so long that you're going to convince yourself that that new content, because there always eventually will be some gameplay content. They always eventually drop it. You're going to convince yourself that that polished fucking turd is somehow a field of gold.
Okay. We can step off the gas pedal a little bit over here. I feel like we still need to like wait and see what the shit actually is first. Right? We gotta like wait and see, because like what if their new endgame mode literally is Virtual Crisis? I don't think a lot of people would like complain about that. I don't think a lot of people would complain about that if they just released Virtual Crisis in 3.0. That's my take. So like, yeah, like that wouldn't really be a polished turd or any of that, right? I feel like it would just be a good feature update to the game. Yeah, I'm again, I mean, I understand why he's upset. This is like his way of expressing his frustration with 120 days of no combat event. The future combat event must be dog shit. I think that's fine to have, because there's a reason why the feelings are getting... There's a reason why people are having such hot takes at the moment. And I don't think it's necessarily the most beneficial thing to harp on somebody for having a more emotional reaction, or like a more incensed reaction than what you think should happen. Because it's all because the devs are putting no fucking things in the game to do. That's the root cause of all of this. And so instead of getting upset at people's reaction to the devs putting in no content, get upset at the fact that the devs put in no content in the first place for people to get upset about. The root cause. That's what we should focus on.
But it's not. You're just starved, you know? I guess that's the end of my tangent, guys. I guess to wrap it all up, I'll come back to Wuthering Waves when it's worth coming back to.
Yeah, he's quitting the game.
As I said in the beginning, a game will command your attention.
He's like quitting the game until 3.0.
They're really good at this. When a game is worth playing,
or this guy's gonna get like mesmerized by like Chisa's scissoring animations, and then he'll like come back to make a video about her kit. It's one or the other.
Command your fucking attention. It will. And I think right now the resources are all being allocated towards 3.0. So buckle up there, Woo community. Game's not dead, it's just dry. It'll most certainly not only revitalize in 3.0, it'll be back stronger than ever, I think. We'll see what happens. I got faith in the Kudo games.
Wait, now I'm just like confused. He was just like, yeah, they're gonna give you a piece of a polished turd. I have faith in Kuro games.
Wrap this up, actually. Remember, I said this a long time ago. Banger patch, filler patch, banger patch, filler patch. They're really good at this. Now, every now and then there's those one-offs. Banger patch, dead patch, dead patch. Right now, unfortunately, it's going to be probably dead patch, bang.
It's always been banger, then filler, then banger. For example, 2.0, banger. 2.1, filler, that was actually good. Then 2.2, banger. Then 2.3, filler, that was, again, actually kind of good. Then 2.4, banger. Then 2.5, filler. 2.6, despite not actually having that many combat events at all, it had a very big region update, and there was combat built into the exploration, so I'll call that one banger. Plus, you got Augusta and Yuno. And then you got 2.7 over here, which is filler dog shit. And so 2.8 should be a banger, but then that would mean 3.0 is bad. So I do think it might actually be dog shit twice in a patch. Man, I'm really hyped up.
Banger patch. I don't think 3.0 can match the hype of 2.0, but I don't expect it to either.
I think 3.0 has the potential to exceed 2.0. Because again, like I said before, I think 2.4 exceeded 2.0. Which was hard to do, but they did it. And so I'm hoping that 3.0 exceeds 2.4 and 2.0. I'm hoping, right? I hope all of those takes that, yeah, Kuro Games is phoning it in for these past couple of updates because they're diverting all their resources to 3.0. Part of that copium, I wish it was hitting, right? I know that's like not an excuse at all. Maybe it will actually just completely blow our fucking socks off once 3.0 launches. But that's like, well, we still gotta wait for the 2.8 live stream, so it might actually be amazing too. But when we're at the point where we're speculating 2 versions ahead because the current patch is really bad, that's a problem of its own. And that's really what's going on right now. I think that this video over here by Smack was an excellent opportunity. I know the original was like 14 minutes. We did expand on some of his points, but it was just more of like an opportunity to talk about all of the dynamics that are currently happening in the space. Yeah, it looks like another CC is quitting the game. And I'm not going to be honest, or I'm going to be honest, he has all valid reasons for doing so. And valid reasons for quitting every single part that he's quitting. It is what it is. And there's really nobody you can blame except for Kuro Games in this matter. So yeah, that'll be that for me on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.